Another World and Flashback, two of the most groundbreaking and influential puzzle platformers of their time. If you have ever wondered what would happen if the creators of both of these games ever decided to work together on their next title, then look no further, because we are about to find out.
Pixel Polish.
Greetings runners and welcome back to PixelPolishTV, where all things old are new again.
Hello everyone, it's great to see you again.
On this channel we like to delve into the story behind the games we cover if it's interesting enough. Well, Heart of Darkness is such a game. Some, if not most of you, will remember two phenomenal platformers from the early 90s, Another World, or Out of This World in America, and Flashback. Each of these two games broke new ground and set a high standard for the genre that their competition could only dream of. The visionary mind and talent behind Another World was Frederic Chahi. That's Chahi, not Chahi or Chahi, by the way. He's French, not a kettle of tea.
That is correct. Get it right, big fancy YouTube reviewers.
With the exception of the soundtrack, this madman created Another World all by himself for the Amiga and Atari ST. The game blew up beyond his wildest expectations thanks to its innovative gameplay, intense plot and captivating cinematics, which led to the title being ported to pretty much everything, and it keeps getting new ports to this day. Meanwhile, Frederic Savoir worked as a programmer and level designer on Flashback, subtitled The Quest for Identity in America. Another instant classic that even got somewhat polarizing remake in 2018. As a true storyteller at heart and director by trade, Frederic found video games to be the ideal way to express himself. Needless to say, after his work on Flashback was done, he was hungry for more. As luck would have it, while both Chahi and Savoir were putting finishing touches on their respective titles, in 1992 the stars aligned, the two have met and it just clicked. Driven by their common goal of creating the most amazing game ever, they founded the aptly named Amazing Studio. And just like that, the troubled development of Heart of Darkness has begun, the only game ever created by the studio.
And according to my records, a bumpy ride it was, right?
Oh yeah, when Amazing Studio showed the first demo of the game on the spring edition of European Computer Trade Show in 1995, attendants' jaws were on the floor and Virgin Interactive immediately bought publishing rights to the tune of over $1.5 million, a budget that the game quickly exceeded. As time went on, 3DO, Amiga CD32 and Atari Jaguar releases have come and gone, Sega Saturn exclusivity deal fell through, and on top of it all, Virgin eventually dropped the publishing plans and the game was doomed to never see the light of day. That is until Interplay stepped up to the plate in 1996, and 2 years later, in the summer of 1998, the Heart of Darkness emerged from the shadows on PC and PlayStation 1. Was it worth the hype, the wait, and 6 years of development hell? Let me put it like this. Imagine your teenage self on the butt end of the 90s, listening to Radiohead, browsing contents on some random cover CD from a gaming magazine, and stumbling upon this.
In a world just like our own, lives a boy like any other.
Andy! Have you not enough again?
No, I was just
Sleeping in my class in broad daylight.
You can't shut me up in there! I know my rights! My uncle's a lawyer!
And mine's a judge. Oh, wow. Afraid of the dark?
His teacher hates him.
Come back here this minute, young man.
No way, Jose! Freedom! Yippee!
His dog adores him.
Come, boy. Hey, want to wear my hat again? There. Hey, come on, Whiskey!
But the thing that really scares him is the dark.
Whiskey!
Now Whiskey has been snatched away by the forces of darkness.
3, 2, 1. Activate. Blast off! Hang on, Whiskey. I'm coming.
And Andy must face his fears. In a secret kingdom A world of magic and adventure. Of furry friends.
What's your name?
Amigo.
And manic monsters.
Whoa! No go! No go!
Only you can control Andy's destiny. Hold back the forces of evil and face the master of darkness. Get ready to explore a world like none you have ever seen before.
Wow!
The world at the heart of darkness.
Well, I don't know about you, but to this day my inner child gets goosebumps while watching this epic trailer.
To this day, your inner child and your outer child are not that different, Chief.
Oh, look at the sass on this one! You seem to be forgetting that if it wasn't for this child, you wouldn't be even here right now, smartass.
Humph.
Yeah, you know it. But back to the topic at hand. Heart of Darkness came out much later than anticipated, and it showed. But despite all the delays and antiquated graphics, even for the late 90s, it was still received pretty well. Most of the major publications rated it very highly, while simultaneously criticizing its retro looks and the game representing a crowded and slowly dying genre of 2D side-scrollers. On the other hand, some of the reviewers ripped this game a new one because of its perceived shortcomings. But little did those buffoons knew that not only this type of games, but also the pixelated looks will make a huge comeback years later. Eat shit and die, next generation, with your 2 stars out of 5.
Language, pixel.
Okay, mom, sheesh. Jokes on the haters though, as the game turned out to be a success story and sold over 1 million copies, which for 1998 was a great result. Long story short, gamers loved it. Maybe except for Kadikarus and the completionist, because apparently the game was too difficult and gave them PTSD. Right?
Get called out, chumps.
Now let's talk about Heart of Darkness from a more modern perspective. Since this seemed to be a big point of contention, let's do things a little backwards and start with the graphics. Yes, the game runs at measly 256 by 192 pixels resolution with black bars to even fill the VGA screen, which was less than impressive even for 92 and highly disappointing for 98. People expected the game to be significantly oppressed between its original showing and release, but that never happened. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. In our video titled "Is Retro Gaming Overrated?", I've presented a theory that simple graphics might be a key component of what makes retro games so special in our minds. In the absence of detail, our imagination kicks in and fills the gaps, just like when we're reading books. That's when the magic happens and those simple graphics become something much more than meets the eye. But in truth, graphics and animations in Heart of Darkness are anything but simple. Yes, the resolution might be low, but the quality is superb. Almost everything that you see on the screen was rendered in 3D, converted into sprites and then masterfully touched up by 2D artists. The final result is nothing short of amazing. Animations are fluid and dynamic, sprites are detailed and expressive, and finally, the pre-rendered backgrounds are vivid and alive, making it very easy to get immersed in the game's unique and eccentric world. Speaking of the game's setting, let's talk about the story. I won't mention any spoilers because I think that if you haven't already, you just need to experience the story by yourself to fully appreciate it. As you have seen in the trailer, you control Andy, a 10-year-old boy tormented by his teacher and afraid of the dark. A boy with vivid imagination, which is the main theme of Heart of Darkness. One day after school, an eclipse happens when Andy is chilling in the park with his dog, Whiskey. This is where things take a turn for the worse for both of them. A wormhole to another dimension opens up when the sun goes dark, and Whiskey gets sucked into the land of darkness. Andy, being the smart kid that he is and a self-made inventor at that, runs to his treehouse workshop, grabs essential supplies, his patented plasma cannon, hops into his interdimensional flying craft and sets off into the unknown to rescue his pup.
Sounds like every little boy's dream adventure, doesn't it?
You've got no idea, Serenity. We've all been there at one point or another when growing up. And a dream adventure it is, even though it's filled with stuff of childhood nightmares. The world of Heart of Darkness is beautiful and exotic, but it's also filled with many dangers and monsters that inhabit every kid's closet, dark basements, and those that lurk in the shadows under their beds. Basically, everything that Andy is terrified of, and it's time that he faces his fears. There's a total of 8 unique levels in this game, and each one seamlessly transitions from one to the other thanks to beautifully animated 3D cutscenes that tie everything up in a cohesive way and push the story forward. Luckily for Andy, it's not all filled with horrors, as he gets to meet the friendly amigos that will help him in his adventures in one way or the other, and in turn, he will get to save them too. And this is where the game's infamous difficulty comes in. In some ways, Heart of Darkness is like the Dark Souls of side-scrolling platformers, but in a good, even if sometimes frustrating way. Each level is filled with unique challenges that very rarely repeat, which is one of the strongest points of this game. It never feels stale or repetitive. I would classify Heart of Darkness as an adventure side-scroller, because a lot of the time the challenge doesn't come from pixel-perfect jumps and overwhelming hordes of nightmarish creatures. There's a lot of environmental puzzles that test both your reflexes and your brain power. The game is hard from the start and it gets progressively harder as you go, but it never feels cheap. During my playthrough, I have never felt like the game employs unfair tactics. Even when failing some segments 10 times in a row, I always felt like it's my own fault. That I just mistimed the jump, didn't notice some pattern, or haven't used the tools at my disposal to their full advantage. As for the enemies, they are smart, they work together in unexpected ways, they often try to trick you, lure you into a trap, and if everything else fails, they might try to overwhelm you with sheer numbers. But there's always a method to this madness, you just need to activate those elements. You've got unlimited tries to tackle the obstacles as there is no lives or even a health bar in sight, and you can save at any time. In fact, the game actively tries to help you in some ways. It introduces new mechanics by letting you have a bit of fun with them, then tests your ability to use them under pressure. Many puzzles give you visual clues in an organic way, you just have to pay attention. And if you fail too many times, the game even displays a helpful hint to give you a little push. The game's manual is filled with useful tips as well. I love it. As a result, conquering a particularly challenging section feels satisfying and often makes you think, hey, this wasn't that hard at all, I just didn't connect the dots. But even when you fail at something and Andy dies in a gratuitous way, it's a feast for the eyes, as weird as it sounds. The handcrafted animations of Andy meeting his doom are funny and creative, and made me fail on purpose many times just so I can see what happens. But none of what I have mentioned so far would have half the impact that it has if it wasn't for the amazing soundscapes and a beautiful score composed by a film and television composer Bruce Broughton and performed by Sinfonia of London. The soundscapes are rich and spacious, filled with reverberating environmental sounds and alien wildlife, giving additional depth to every scene. Music is used sparsely, but to a great effect, accentuating key moments and invoking raw emotions. When it's tied all together, the game just sounds, for the lack of a better word, exquisite.
Look at you, using big boy words to express your feelings.
What can I say? I love this game. I played it for the first time in 20 plus years for this review, and it just holds up. This playthrough was just as fun and exciting as it was back in 1998. There's a reason why so many games tried to imitate it ever since. Heart of Darkness inspired many titles like Limbo, Inside, The Little Nightmares or Dark, to name a few. Chahi and Frederic Savoir created a masterpiece of storytelling that moved many kids and adults alike. I'm sure if your heart hasn't turned pitch black, you'll enjoy it too. If you're looking for something that can help you flex your imagination and awaken your inner child, I highly recommend you give Heart of Darkness a try. And if you have children of your own, this title is a no-brainer. The PlayStation 1 copy of the game is cheap and easy to find, and thanks to an excellent engine port that we will link in the description below, it's easier than ever to run the PC version of Heart of Darkness on modern systems. That's how I played it for this review and it works great. But it's time to wrap things up. If you enjoyed our little trip down the memory lane, give this video a like and subscribe for more. And if you really like what we do here, there's also ways to support the channel more directly.
As always, you can find all the information in the description box below.
In the meantime, thank you guys for watching and... hold on. Serenity? What the hell is that?
What are you... Oh, wait a second. That's unexpected. Is that you're doing?
I was about to ask you the same thing. What is this?
Readings seem to indicate it's an anomaly of an unknown origin.
Damn, it's getting bigger too. Serenity, engage threat assessment protocols and emergency... Serenity? Serenity? Oh no, what now? No. It's pulling me in. Serenity, do something.